Hello everyone, welcome back. Now I'm actually doing a video this time. Um, there's probably going to be no editing for this because I'm just going to be talking mostly straightforward. And this is going to be very controversial. Some of the characters I'm going to put in here, uh, people might hate or people might like. Hence why it's a tier list that's based on my opinion. Uh, So yeah, let's go right into it. By far the worst character I would ever do is Rouge. We all know it. You all know it. Uh, Rouge is by far the worst character, and here's why. Um, Rouge can do only one thing, and that's revive herself, but she's not even good at the power herself. Her main power, she's not even good at. So a survivor could revive her, and that that kind of wastes her power, and then she's basically nothing after. Um, I only see in my entire time of me playing this one time where Rouge was actually good, and that was when she was all by herself, down, and I was across the map. And even then, uh, it's still not good. You're downed, okay, you go back up, you're at 25 HP, and a EXE could just kill you, and you can't really do much. I mean, that's for any survivor, but this this Rouge does not help people. She doesn't, like, unlike, I don't know, Amy, Eggman, Knuckles, they don't help out survivors. Instead, Rouge is more of a hope to God that Sonic.exe or other .exes don't see you and just run off and or be with a teammate who can stun. But even then, you can't really do much. It's just a time where she gets outclassed by others. Now, Shadow got a buff, and I think his buff is good and bad. Now, I would probably put him in C. Mainly, this is controversial, because of his dash. I honestly thought he would be in D tier because he had no ability back then in the old edition. But now he does, so he can do a dash which is it's more or less like a stall as much time as he possibly can by getting chased by Sonic.exe. Um, he can't really help out teammates. All he can do is really intimidate Sonic.exe, and you have to be good at him in order to play him correctly. This is one of those characters where you have to master him, and once you master him, you could do insane tricks across the map. Uh, there's a bug, I don't know if it's fixed, where you can dash, but you go very far instead of its normal dash. Um, you can go stall as much time by, for instance, hide and seek part 2, you have the bridge and the common camping area, or if you go to the, I have to show you, but I will in a different video. Um, you could more or less dash to the other bridge, causing time to stall as much. But you also have the issue, if you do that, Sonic.exe might just ignore you for a little bit and attack other people, which that his main ability is stalling time, but that might not work. So I don't think he's the greatest, but he's definitely not the worst. He's just a tier up from D. Sally. Oh. Since Sally got a buff and she can go faster once she's either stuns.exe or the stun ends, she has a small speed boost I think for about 4 seconds. Um, she's definitely not an F tier anymore, as I found pretty good strategies to make her slightly above. But it brings up the thing: if she's all alone, no partners, she's almost trash. She's F tier, but she struggles to be in long fights of Sonic.exe. She can't really help uh the grab ability with shield, which made her trash in the original, and it kind of is her downfall in this. Now, I found a genuine strategy to make her a slightly bit better. Um, I honestly main her now, and she's actually really good in some situations. The bodyguard strategy, for instance, it's more or less stall as much time or hope to God that Sonic.exe will hit you or grab you, stalling as much time as possible and wasting his ability. Um, that's what your goal is: waste his ability so that um, you could possibly wait for a little bit, stun him if you're near a partner who can stun, and run off. Uh, Now, that can be good and bad. It could go horribly wrong, but honestly, Sally is best with teammates. She really helps them out in the worst situations. Um, However, she's not good in chases. Uh, she's horrible at it. So you have good and bad. Uh, Honestly, you would probably go in C tier. I think Sally is a bit better than Shadow in my opinion. All right, now Cream. Uh, Cream is a time of her past. She's outclassed by others. She, since Sally got a buff with her speed, it kind of makes not Cream, a tiny bit worse, as there are other characters who get speed boosts. This character is only meant for chases, and she's horrible with protecting teammates. Cream is always to be across the map. She can't really see Sonic.exe, or else she can't do much. Even her speed ability, Sonic.exe will be just a few inches behind you, and that doesn't really help at all. You kind of have to know how she works. Um, if you're really good at her, then you could do some pretty decent tricks. You could dodge, you could stall time with Sonic.exe, but in the end, it's not that much time compared to other characters. She is a time of her own, and she's just not as good as she once was. I mean, even though she hasn't changed in this one, she it's just sad of her downfall of uh her ability, and then Sally basically having the same ability, but with the shield. Um, I have to put you in D tier. I once put you in C, but now I put you in D. Sorry, Cream, but you're just a moment of your past. Next up, Amy. Hmm. Now, here's the thing with Amy. Uh, Amy is just a really hard character to describe. She has a 35-second stun boost, like cooldown, and Knuckles has a 45, I think, or Outlaic must have changed that. So basically, Amy can go down in one hit, but gets a quicker cooldown for her hammer. Uh, she is horrible in chases, even with her stun. Uh, she's just not good. The stun with her hammer is really wonky. It has to be really precise. Um, and including laggy players, it just it's not good with either or, laggy or not. You're you're gonna struggle. She struggles in chases. Uh, most players will, most .exes will target her first, as in the future she actually becomes really good. Uh, you could, for instance, and you can't run, just hide at the top and just wait for Sonic.exe stun, and basically you just won. Um, at the 80-second marker. Uh, in in most places, she struggles in terms of maps. For instance, like hide and seek Act One, that is trash for her. Literal garbage. She can't do much. It's flat ground, very few areas to train. That sounds like Black Ops Zombies. Sorry. Uh, very few areas to dodge Sonic.exe. All areas are crowded. Uh, not good for survivors. It's trash, and it just makes her not as good. And I could only see one map where she's best in, and that's You Can't Run. Um, which is very survivor sided. It puts a lot of pressure on Sonic.exe. Uh, now this is the point. I'm gonna have to put Amy in B tier, as she is a good stun. She stuns Sonic.exe. She can help out her teammates. She's decent in chases if you're good with her, but even then, not the greatest. Um, so yeah. Next up, Eggman. Oh jeez. Eggman can be good. I've seen some really god Eggman players. Like, oh my god, they're good. Um, but compared to other players, he's not the greatest. Most players already know by now to run away when he's near, making him even worse. He's best at helping out teammates. However, he's worst at uh, running from Sonic.exe. He's basically screwed if he's alone. He can't do anything except for stun, and that's it. He's screwed. And his stun is the longest cooldown. At least, like, make it buffed like 10 seconds shorter. Uh, so yeah, it's just Eggman has a very large hitbox. He he's hard to dodge Sonic. His ability kind of makes him struggle as well, as he must be very smart of how you use your ability. So all of him, he struggles throughout the entire match. And this is going to be controversial, but I'm gonna have to put Eggman in D tier. He's just not as good anymore. But I see some really good players, which compared to average players, he's just not good. Most players struggle with him, and yeah, I just can't put him in any tier higher. He's not F tier. That's for a fact. Uh, yeah. Next up, Knuckles. Knuckles, I'm gonna have to put in S. Knuckles is, well, not S, but Knuckles is really good in terms of in fight. He is good. He can, he has a tiny bit bigger hitbox than others. Um, he can stun. He goes down twice, and he can stall as much time. He helps out his teammates. He's pretty good in dodging. I've seen some really good Knuckle players. He gets scary at the end. lasts 100 seconds if he hasn't gone down, that is scary. It's more or less Knuckles is good of how much time he hasn't gone down. You have to down him at least once throughout the 200-second marker, or else he becomes scary thereafter. Um, Especially good player. Oh dear God, you do not want him to be at full health. Um, you mainly want to down Knuckles, Amy, Shadow first as your main priority. But yeah, I see the most person's cursor there. uh, I think Knuckles is by far the best out of all characters, which then comes Tails. Tails is very overrated. Uh, he is a glide. He can glide, but they nerfed that. He now glides for like a short period of time, but then falls. Uh, I don't know why Outlandic would nerf him. He was already not the greatest already, but then he decided to nerf him again and make his ability to fly much shorter. He has an arm cannon. I think he has the most time, or I think it's been buffed to shorter. But even then, his arm cannon, you could just dodge it. And even with good players, they kind of struggle. And or what the Sonic.exe could do is just go invisible and wait for him. Of course, he's good at stalling time. Tails is really good at stalling time as much as possible. And just by himself, he's in a really tough situation. When you use your arm cannon, you kind of slow down to like 0.1 speed per second. He is so slow, and it just makes him a target already. Uh, Not only that, his ability takes him to charge up. I think at least 4 seconds. Which even then, you have Knuckles and Amy, and Eggman could easily stun, like instant, tap up a button. But it takes Tails 4 seconds to charge his cannon, and even then, you could already be down. And let alone his ability, he gets slower. What? No, that's not good. He's overrated, and his ability takes time to charge, and he gets slower by doing that. If you're far away, then okay, but he has a really loud, it's really loud once you hear it, so it's basically uh, an alarm for Sonic.exe, so he could go invisible, and your ability becomes pointless. And trying to fly away from Sonic, that doesn't help at all. Of course, it might help for a few maps of stalling as much time. I've seen some pretty good Tails players, but now, with the shortage of the fly ability, a lot of the maps where you could make very large leaps and go to a far map, gone. Just made him much worse than he already was. Just why? Come on. I'm gonna have to put him in the worst of D tier. He's just not good anymore, in my opinion. Easily downs, struggles and fights really bad, helps out the teammate by a tiny bit, but even then, takes him 4 seconds to charge, so you put your teammates at pressure of trying to dodge as much. And then you have Sonic.exe trying to move around across the map, and then you shoot, and it has to be really precise, by the way, and then it misses. Also, by the way, Tails is you, Tails is probably the first to go down as well. Well, not really. uh, Tails is just not good, overrated, not fun, and struggles in chases. Not really helps out their teammates as much. Puts them in pressure as well. Uh, his stun is trash. His glide is now trash, and just not as good. I don't know. So yeah, that is my tier list. And yes, I put Tails in F tier. He's pretty fun, but when it comes to chases, he's just not as good. Uh, he's a very small hitbox. What? He's gonna be the worst tier. So yeah, that's going to be the video. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. See ya!